Everybody, it's shepherd's pie time, which to me, casserole. I feel like that's a casserole, and some of you have also been asking for some casserole recipes back, so we're gonna call this a casserole. So I have a few tips and tricks on how I make a shepherd's pie delicious. So first of all, we're gonna start in our pot here. We've got an onion and some celery cooking down in a little olive oil. I wanna soften those up. And to this, I'm gonna add 1.5 pounds of some Pelkins ground beef here. And we're gonna get this cooking in the onions and the celery. So technically, this is not a shepherd's pie. Shepherd's pie, which comes from the UK, this is actually a cottage pie. Shepherd's pie, lamb, because of the shepherd. So technically, I'm not making a shepherd's pie, but I'm gonna call it that because that's what it's most known for in the US, so that's what we're gonna do. But if you wanted to make an actual one, use ground lamb instead. This is technically a shepherd's, or a cottage pie. All right, so while this is getting brown, let's get some of our ingredients ready here. Of course, you know me, we gotta have some garlic, so we're gonna get some garlic ready to roll here. Give it a little smash. Now, I started all of mine. You can use a deep skillet. I love to cook in a Dutch oven, so I got a Dutch oven going on here, but any kind of deep skillet works for me. All right. We're just gonna mince up this garlic here like we talk about all the time. We're just gonna push all this in the middle of the board, knife in the middle, hand on top, and just rock back and forth. And the more you practice this, the easier it's gonna get, the faster you get, and you can throw away that garlic press. All right. Now, if you find that your meat gets a little clumpy like this, I like to take, I have a potato masher here. Sorry, I forgot where I put it. And a lot of times I will just use the potato masher to really get this going. Kind of break it up a little bit easier. And if you're using a non-stick skillet, just use a plastic one if you can. But that helps kind of even it out, gets it cooking a little faster. All right, so now next to me here, I already made the mashed potatoes. Now these mashed potatoes are just delicious mashed potatoes. One of my tricks is to get the cream and the butter, the Lamers cream and the butter hot first. That way it really mashes in really well. But one of my tricks here, I throw in some Parmesan. I'm gonna save a little for the top, but throw in some Parmesan and just measure that with your heart. You don't need to have a measurement on that one. Throw in as much Parmesan as you like. That's gonna add a really beautiful, warm, nutty, cheesy flavor to these potatoes. And I'm gonna give that a taste just to make sure that I like it. Make sure MITG, we're gonna make it taste good. Needs more salt and pepper. Some kosher salt, nice and up high. I'm gonna use some fresh cracked pepper today. Anytime you can use fresh cracked pepper, I highly recommend. You have whole peppercorns in there, and right now they're getting crushed and they're getting sliced and all the oils are coming out, and that's what makes a really bright peppery flavor. So give that a good stir. I'm gonna turn off the heat here because they're nice and warm. And then I'll probably taste that one more time before I serve. All right, so now my ground beef is doing its thing. We got a couple more ingredients to get ready here. Let me just make sure this is getting a good stir. All right, so now we have our garlic ready. Slide that to the side. Now you can use dried thyme right now if you'd like, but I truly love fresh thyme if you have it. I'm gonna go ahead, just pull it from the top. You got it from the top right here. You're just gonna gently pull down and the leaves should pop off. Depending on the season, some seasons, you get thousands of leaves that pop right off. Some need a little more help. It depends on the season around here. And I do find shepherd's pie to be one of those foods that you can make any season. You don't have to wait till it's cold and comfort food. You can go ahead and make it at any point. All right, so now I'm getting this fresh thyme leaves. Again, you feel free to use dried thyme if you'd like. And then on the side here, I have some vegetables. I have some frozen peas, and I have some frozen corn, and I didn't even thaw them. We're gonna throw them in like that, because they're gonna cook in the oven. My oven's preheated to 400 degrees, by the way. All right, and I'm gonna give these a nice little chop as well, after I give this a stir. So now, with this ground beef, now that it's almost there, I am not going to strain this. I want that beef fat in there because we're gonna add a little flour and thicken up the gravy in here. So don't worry about straining this off. Don't need to do it. All right, I am gonna add a little seasoning though. I'm gonna add a little Worcestershire sauce, which is just one of my favorite things you can have in your fridge or your cupboard. I'm gonna do about a tablespoon. The secret ingredient to Worcestershire sauce, which makes it so delicious, is anchovies. A lot of people don't know that, but the anchovies add that umami flavor that really gives it a good kick, so I love some Worcestershire. Get that mixed in. I'm gonna add our garlic in there. And I'm gonna add our fresh thyme. Just give it a nice little chop. This is gonna add a nice little bright herbal flavor to that. Let's give that a good stir. And now let's get our flour in there. So now the flour, this is why we're not taking the grease out. We're gonna add flour into the fat, create a roux, and that's what's gonna make the gravy. So 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Give that a good mix. And with that flour, I want one more thing that's gonna deepen the flavor of this, tomato paste. Now, you can get the cans of tomato paste. Those work great. I often find I only need 1 or 2 tablespoons at a time. So a lot of times I'll just get the tomato paste that comes in a tube. That way I can squeeze out what I want, get it in the fridge, and I can use it for next time and not worry about the weird can. So in here, I'm gonna do about 2 tablespoons. I just eyeball it. You can't mess this up, everybody. It looks like about 2 tablespoons. And that's just gonna really create a nice deep flavor for this gravy. All right, so I'm gonna give this a good stir. That flour is cooking out. The onions look like they have softened really beautifully. Really mix in that tomato paste. I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of salt and pepper, but of course we're gonna taste it before we serve it, because we got an MITG, fresh cracked pepper. And now a cup of beef broth. The flour is gonna help make that into a beautiful gravy. So give that a moment to heat up. And then on the side, this will only take a minute. See, I don't know if you can see this here, but it's already thickening up. That broth is really sunk in. Now we're gonna go ahead and add frozen corn, frozen peas. If you like mushrooms, go ahead and add in some mushrooms if you'd like. If you like carrots, you could have sauteed those up earlier. This is really one of those dishes that you just make it how you like it. This is a great one if you have leftover veggies in the fridge, some leftover green beans, things like that. Now's the time. So I'm gonna give this a taste. I'm gonna try not to get too much frozen stuff in there. See what it needs. Needs more salt and pepper. I want this flavorful. I want this to have some nice bold flavors in here, because sometimes a cottage or a shepherd's pie can be a little boring. Let me get another spoon here. All right, let's try again. I'm gonna say a smidge more salt, and we're good. So now, I have a baking dish here sprayed with a little nonstick cooking spray. Let me grab that. First thing you want to do is layer this in here. Now, if you ever want to lighten this up, you can make it with ground turkey if you prefer. It's a great way to lighten this up if you're looking to do that. I've also done it in a lighter fashion where instead of topping it with mashed potatoes, I'll top it with like maybe half mashed potatoes, maybe half cauliflower or something like that. Just pour that in. Don't worry about the exact size baking dish. Whatever you have that'll fit it, it's all you want to do. I always, just for good measure, I'm just this person, I hit it with a little pepper over the top, maybe a smidge of salt too. Now remember, we had these mashed potatoes here that we re-seasoned. Where's my clean spoon? Right here. Let's just make sure we love them. Don't just plop them on top. Take a moment. Make it taste good. So yeah, I think that needs a little more salt and pepper. All right, let's go ahead and kind of just plop that on the top. Just like that. We're gonna see if I can make it pretty with this spoon. I don't know if I can or not, but I never claimed to make beautiful food, just food that tastes really good. So I've been seeing on social media, we look all the time. I've been seeing y'all have been making some dishes lately, posting pictures. Love you for that. It's so fun for us to look at. And you all are doing a fantastic job as well. You also all have really pretty plates. Every time I look at your plates, I'm like, those are beautiful. I need new plates at my house. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and bake this off, but it's gonna take about 20 to 25 minutes. I mean, if we have this Parmesan left, we can't let this go to waste. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of the Parmesan over the top. That's gonna create kind of this golden, it just looks beautiful. It looks appetizing. It adds extra flavor. And I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in my oven. And then later in the show, I'm gonna be doing some cookies later. And later in the show, we're gonna pull that out of the oven, let you take a look at how beautiful that turned out.